Hello everybody, I hope you're having an amazing day. Now we are going to be getting into a series of videos all about printing, packaging, and of course evolving to the next level. So most of us have our own small businesses already, and we do lots of talks about small business and the importance of always growing, always learning, and of course getting some more skills along the way, which most of you do get from YouTube, which that's exactly how I got all of mine at the start. So I'm going to do a series of 3 different videos. Now this is going to be a part of how you go from, your normal things just like this. So these are, my normal packaging, which I buy a plain box, I make all my own labels and stick them on the box, which is fine. That's absolutely fine to do at the start. But a lot of us really want to get to the next level of professional packaging. Now, there's lots of things to do before you just go ahead and get it all printed. So today we are going to start the first bit of the series, and this is all about what you need to do to get up before you actually start printing. So you may have your product. So here is a product I'm working on at the moment. So these are my new trays. And I want to actually go and organize some boxes and get some boxes made for this. So the first thing we need to do before we even start to design our boxes, of course, is come up with a design that is going to be cohesive across the whole part of your business. So there's no good thinking of just that tray. You may have candles, soaps, melts, and so on. So the main thing to think about is your design. So we want to keep everything cohesive so that when you pick up this box, you go, I know that is Nelson Soapery, or whatever your company is. You want somebody to pick up a melt to a soap to a tray and know it is your business. And a part of doing that is using, a base template that you're going to use, and you can interchange that per each box that we're going to design. So I'm going to talk a little bit about myself because that kind of makes it easy because I'm in the middle of doing that. So the first thing to think about is your theme. So when we talk about theme, think really hard about it. So you may have a total minimalistic business. You may think, I want all of my packaging to be minimalistic, and that is okay. But you have to remember that you've got to be really happy with that because you want to keep that theme going along all of your products. So if you think of big companies, they don't have one particular box and then go and change it totally to a different color or, totally different theme. They don't have flowers one week and boats the next. They basically will have the same theme all the time. So when we're talking about themes, for instance, a lot of my new ones, they are all going to be a pastel color. So I've used a very similar template, and then each design will change. So for instance, if I have lavender, that is going to be purple. If I have a mint one, it's going to be green, but it's not going to be a straight color. It might be a bit of a gradient, or it might have a bit of an ombre kind of look. So that way they all are different, but yet the theme is very, very similar. So that's the first thing to think about is, and you can write all of this down on paper. So what's your theme straight away? That's the first thing. The second thing that is really important is thinking about your fonts. Now, one thing I didn't really think about too much because, lots of us go on Canva, and I design everything on Canva and then send it to the printer. So basically for me, what I'm actually going to be doing is, coming up with my own design. But you need to think about the fonts because most of you probably didn't know a lot of fonts, even though they're on Canva and you have a pro account, a lot of them you need to pay licensing fees to use. So the easiest thing to do is, for instance, if you're on Canva and it's Brittany, I would literally go to Google and say, does Brittany need a license to be used? And a lot of times it means, yes, you need to pay additional money, but some of them are totally free and anyone can use them for commercial setting. So definitely check that. That's one thing I've done, and I've had to change my fonts because Brittany is one that you need to pay for, and I always used Brittany. So That's how I actually learnt, and one of my lovely friends, Beth, actually told me that, and I didn't know. And as I always say, we learn every single day, don't we? So get your fonts ready. I always say try and only use 2 or 3. I mean, when you start to use 4 and 5, it looks really messy. It's not uniform at all. So you want it to look really neat. So if you're using, for instance, we'll just say Comic Sans, if you're going to use that for your heading, always make sure all your headings are done in the same. Just try and keep it similar, and try and keep your whole design very, very similar. And you will start to notice my designs are very, very similar. And I do have a couple of them already on my website, so you can go on there and check that out and see how I've actually done them. Now, the next thing to think about is colors. We did talk a little bit about color, but you want to see, what kind of colors are you going to use? Are you going to have really bold colors? Are you going to have ombre colors? Are you going to have flat colors? Do you want to have a gold foil on it? These are really important things, and things such as if you put a little bit of gold or silver foil or rose gold foil on it, what actually happens is that kind of looks a little bit next level. So it will look a bit more luxurious. So if you're trying to get into hairdressers, beauty salons, day spas, bed and breakfasts, I would definitely say maybe think about a silver or a rose gold or something like that, because it would just make it look more luxurious. That is definitely something that I would suggest to really think about adding that into it. And it might not be the letters. You might have, a flower that is in that particular thing, or a shape or something that is in that gold. So it doesn't need to, like I said, always be a lettering. And there's not much difference in cost to add a little bit of foil. But, if you're selling to a lot of gift stores, a lot of newsagents and, more of, your basic store, you may want to not have that gold, because also having the foil, one thing that a lot of people don't think about is sometimes it looks a bit expensive. So if you're going to try and sell to, your medium touristy sort of shop, a lot of times people won't pick that up with a foil because they think, oh, it's too expensive, I won't even look, and they don't pick it up. So that's something I never thought about, but after all the research I've done, and I've thought that is really true, because it does kind of scream a little bit luxury. So that's something, like I said, we're thinking about all of that. So now we've got all of that, haven't we? We've got our borders, we know the fonts we're going to use, we've got a rough idea of design, and play around. So now what we need to do next, of course, is measure everything up. So if we have a tray like this, let me get my measuring tape over here. And so you need to measure it. Now, there is no good doing this. If you put the tape here and you go here, it's way too big. It's going to shake in the box. So you really want it to be, so if I can hold this up, so if you can see, this is just at the end here, and then it's just going over the end. So I would give it 0.5 centimeter extra so that you just have that little bit of room. So if we look at this tray, for instance, we can say, okay, this is like 18.5 centimeters across in length. And then if we go the opposite way, like I said, we're going to measure it this way as well. And then we know that's about 10 centimeters, and the printer will need to know the depth as well. So the depth is like how wide your product is. So this one here is 2 centimeters exactly. So I would tell them like 2.2 or 2.3. So now that we know that, we can actually go onto Canva and design it. So, we're going to design the box. And the thing is, don't forget the edges here. So on the box, you may just want to have your brand, so your company name, or you might want to have, cement product or whatever it is. But the main bit is this large bit. So, and don't feel like you need to fill that whole portion up, because I know in the past myself, I've felt like, oh, I can't leave any spare room, because if I leave spare room, then I've kind of wasted, that. But you definitely haven't, because sometimes too busy looks too messy and people won't pick it up. So we've talked about that. So once we've got all of that organized, we know what we're going to do. Now we're going to go into Canva and we are going to go and design something. So in my next video, I'm going to show you step by step how I actually design it in Canva. and what I need to do. Now, there's a few things that you need to do. So number one, you need to know all your measurements. And obviously you need your layout to be super good so that you know what you can tell the printer each time. And do remember, you can't be having it in a low resolution. So if it's in a low resolution, you may need to have to up that, and when you save it on Canva, there is PDFs that have, we'll say PDF CMYK, and I will show you all of that. And that basically means it's at a printing level. It's a higher resolution, which generally is about 300 dpi is what it's called. And that's pretty much what you want to show the printer. But don't stress too much. If you don't know how to set it out in the format that the printer will need, you don't need to worry, because basically what I did is I've just done them all in a block form. So like I said, if we measure this up to be 19 by 10, I just basically do it in a square rectangle. I send that to the printer and I tell them, this is what I want. They did all the rest of the work for me. So I designed the whole thing and I said, this is exactly what I want it to look like. All I need you to do now is put it in a higher resolution, and that's what they've done for me. And then they will send you back proofs. Now, you never pay anyone money, anybody. Please do not ever give over any money until they have, obviously send you a quote, what's going to happen, and so on. So basically, once you've got your whole design, then you're going to send it off to them, but prior to that, prior to doing anything, you want to just say, this is the size I'm looking for. I need a quote of 500 boxes, 1,000 boxes, 10,000, however many you want to order. But I will tell you, if you're ordering 100 or less, it will be a lot more expensive than ordering 500. So an example of that is I was charged $1.80 per box if I was to get 100. If I was to get 500 boxes, it went down to 55 cents. So very, very different costing. And of course, that has to add into your COGS at the end, which means your cost of goods. Now, lastly, I will say, do remember that you can negotiate with your printer. Don't feel like you have to just say, oh, well, he said it's that much, so that's all I can do. I've got no other options. You do definitely have options, everybody. So you can definitely negotiate with them. You can say, look, that's too expensive. I can't make enough money. Can we negotiate? And often they will say, well, if you order more, then we'll give you a better price. Or, and what I actually did is you can get a couple quotes, go back to one and say, look, this person actually offered me this, but I prefer to work with you because of the communication. And they will often come back and say, yep, okay, I understand, no problem. Let me look into it and see what I can do. So there is no problem doing that. Don't feel embarrassed. It's a part of how it all works. And, I'm going to be honest, it is expensive. It's not going to be cheap. So please don't think, it's going to be really cheap. It's not. Generally, for a very small amount of packaging, it's probably going to cost you a couple $1,000, when you're ordering thousands of boxes together. So, and if you have melts, for instance, like this, if you have 10 melts in it, don't buy one box. I would actually be going to get, 500 boxes of every design you have in one go. It makes it cheaper. If you don't have the money at the start, I would say save up the money and get it all in one go. And what I did is I didn't do everything. I just said, okay, I'm going to start on steamers. So we'll get the boxes for the steamers first. And then after the steamers, I'll get the boxes for the soap and so on. And then you can kind of go down. And once you have everything, then basically when you come up with a new design or you need more boxes, it's only buying one thing at a time. So the start's the most expensive thing. But like I said, we're not going to go into anything else today. Well, I've just given you some ideas on what you can actually do to start with. And like I said, and the next video, which hopefully I'll have out in a few days, then I will actually show you on my computer how I actually design it, and hopefully that really does help you. So this is part one, as I said, and I hope that this little series is going to help you, because I know getting packaging can be really, really daunting. I was really scared to ever get packaging because I didn't know how to do it. I just thought I didn't have the know-how. I was scared to get it overseas. So sometimes I think deal with somebody that speaks your language first, and once you feel confident, then maybe you can go overseas to get something done. So at the start, you know, I'm more than happy to pay a little bit more so that I have that communication and I feel more secure. And don't pay if somebody asks you to wire money or anything like that. Definitely do not do that. If they ask you to send it through PayPal as a friend, do not do that, because that means your money isn't safe. You definitely want to make sure that you're paying, you know, either with your credit card to a secure website, or make sure you pay through PayPal where you can get your money back if they don't deliver the goods. So that is very important. Please don't hand over any money whatsoever until you are 100% right. And honestly, you'll go back and forward so many times with them before you even pay. I mean, it's taken me weeks and weeks back and forward before there's been even any agreement, you know, on the last thing. And I'm waiting for the last, just the last sort of okay from my design that I've done to come back for this new one that I'm working on at the moment. But anyway, I hope you're going to really love this little series that we're going to be doing. And then I'm going to, of course, give you some tips, tricks, and I will give you some links in the last video. So look out for the next two. And like I said, I'll put some links in for some printers that you can check out and see how you go.